Welcome back to Networking Fundamentals by Yamaha Commercial Audio Systems. I'm Pat Kalani. In this video, we're going to talk about DNS, or Domain Name Service. Throughout this video series, we've made several analogies between an IP address and a phone number, right? Well, if an IP address is like a phone number, then the domain name service is like the phone book. Let's suppose you're using a web browser to go to yamaha.com. Yamaha.com isn't an IP address, right? It's a domain name. So your web browser takes yamaha.com, submits that to the domain name service, and it gets back the IP address where the website resides. Now the web browser has the information it needs to contact the website. So DNS is a simple but critical step anytime you're setting up a network that will also have internet access. Let's take a quick walk through this resource just to make sure there's no mysteries. In previous videos, we've already covered the three primary settings of any network device: IP address, subnet mask, and gateway. Usually right near those settings, you'll also see fields for DNS, Domain Name Service. These are the IP addresses of servers that will host the names of devices out on the internet. Notice that you can have multiple servers in the list. Your network device will try each server in order in that list until it gets a valid response to its request. Let's see how this works. So here we have a computer that wants to go to yamaha.com. So the first question it has to answer is, where is yamaha.com? Now in our example, the first DNS server was on our local area network. In a corporate environment, this can be fairly common. An IT department might set up a DNS server to host names for printers or file servers or something like that are hosted on the local network. Now, that server likely won't have the answer for yamaha.com, so this server would just say, I don't know where yamaha.com is. So the computer says thank you very much, and it goes to contact the next DNS server on the list. In this case, the second DNS server says, I know where yamaha.com is. It gives us an address, and then we can go out on the internet and contact that server. So that's the way DNS works. Effectively, your network device goes down that list of DNS servers one at a time until it gets a positive response to its request. I do want to point out that your network device isn't taking a survey of all the devices and then having a voting system if there's a discrepancy. It literally is just one at a time down those servers until somebody has an answer. So if you were to look in a network device back in the late 90s, you would have seen lists of DNS servers just like this. However, by the mid to late 2000s, it became common to see settings like this. So it looks as if your router is now the DNS server. But that's not quite it. What's happening is we're taking that list of DNS servers away from your network devices, and we're hosting it in one spot up in the router. So your network device now contacts the router. The router will go down that list of DNS servers one at a time for you and return the answer. Let's take a look at how that works. So here we have the same situation where a computer wants to go to yamaha.com and it needs to know where that IP address is. Well, the computer checks its list of DNS servers, and in it, it finds the IP address of the router, so it goes there first. The router then goes down its list one at a time. It checks with that local server first, which doesn't have the answer. Then it checks with the server provided by your ISP out on the internet. That one says, I know where yamaha.com is. It gives us the answer. Great. We go out and we contact the web server. So why do we do it this way, right? What difference does it make if the list of DNS servers is hosted on your individual network devices or if it's up on the router? Well, if you ask an IT professional, they'll probably tell you that DNS searches will happen faster if it's hosted up on the router. And there's a lot of truth to that. Most of your DNS servers will be hosted by your internet service provider. So they're going to be out on the internet. From your network, the router is the closest thing to those servers, right? So it's got the shortest distance to go. So while it's nice that it's saving me a couple of milliseconds, I'm not sure I'm going to feel that when I'm checking email or browsing the internet, right? To me, one of the big advantages of going this way is maintenance. Again, the domain name servers are hosted by your ISP. And as they do maintenance on their network, those IP addresses might change over time. If you're hosting these IP addresses in your router, you only have one place to go to change those settings. You don't have to go to each individual device on your network. And that saves you a lot of time. Well, that about wraps it up for DNS, or Domain Name Service. Again, if your IP address is like a phone number, then the Domain Name Service is like the phone book. It provides a way for your network device to convert a name that we can remember, like Yamaha.com, into an IP address that it can use out on the network. Thank you for joining us, and I welcome you to check out our next video on DHCP and Link Local.